Okay, first order of business is to accept approve the regular meeting of February 25th. Did everyone have a chance to review that?
Yep,
I did, and I'd move to approve as submitted.
second.
I had one question on service calls. When Stewart was talking about purchasing a new pump, they're a lot more than $900, aren't they? I thought you had about 1,000 of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tim. And matter of fact, I've got an update on our grinder report, pumps and their current cost. But you're absolutely right on that. $800 to $900 is incorrect. Should be around 2,000, 2,500.
These are the new pumps for the regular size wells, right?
Right. If we were to go out and buy a pump,
Yeah.
that's a replacement cost.
Okay. Was that, you want to change that in the minutes, or? I mean, you're gonna you're gonna be making a report today, right, about that?
Yep. Yeah, I would.
So So might as well leave it at that price, and when we'll just report it as unless did you actually say the higher price?
No, I don't believe I quoted. I don't know where the $800 or $900 came from.
Okay.
That's a typical rebuild cost. And who knows? It's really when you shake it all out, that's really not too important, I guess.
No, well,
Yeah.
and we'll correct it when we go through it tonight. So
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll leave that as it is. And any other corrections to the February 25th meeting? If not, all in favor of accepting as is?
Aye.
I
I abstained.
Who's that, Tim?
No, Peter Ellsworth
Peter.
abstained. I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay. Peter abstained, and Roger will abstain also because I wasn't at that meeting. So all 3, 4, 2 abstained. Okay,
Okay.
All right.
then we'll go to the May 26th meeting. Someone make a motion to accept?
So moved.
second. Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, I've got a few corrections on page 2. Under C on page 2, where it says item 8D. I'd like to change that to 7C. And let's see, yeah, that will change to 7C. And then on line D, Woodstock Inn at Woodstock, the inn at Woodstock Hill, stated that item was satisfied during item 2, not item 3. So I'd like to change that. And let's see. I think that's all I have. Any other corrections to the 25th or the May 26th meeting?
Nope.
Okay, we'll change that to accept
I
it
move
as
to-
corrected.
Yep. Move to approve as corrected.
And a second on that.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's see. Next item we'll go on to new business. And Rick Canavan's position is vacant. If anyone there has, knows of anyone, there are two people that came to our meeting back almost a year ago. Cindy found their names in the records, and a fellow named Doug Putnam and Paul Gore. Paul, I think, was the fella that had put the handy wipes down the septic, and it said it was okay for septic use and clogged up our drains, or his drain. So,
I'd make a suggestion that perhaps the chairman, we authorize the chairman to contact both the people and see if they express any interest in joining us.
okay.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't think-
second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I'll give them a call. I'd like to get someone that's on the system on the board.
I think they're both on the.
They are, they're both,
in Lindgren Village, aren't they?
yes. Yep. Okay, B, the town hall staff has their hourly rate was increased. So I'd like to have someone make a motion that we increase Cindy's hourly rate from $21.50 to $21.93.
So moved.
I'd move that, and I also want to mention that that represents a 2% increase that is universal throughout the entire town hall staff.
Okay, and we'll.
All right, I'll
I
second
think
that.
Cindy well deserves it, and I'd like someone make that motion.
So moved.
A second,
Second.
Oh,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Pump station maintenance. What I was, as Tim and Stu know, when you were looking down the manhole at the pump station, there's some rags or something stuck around one of the pumps down at the very bottom. I imagine you saw that when you guys looked down there, Stu?
Yep. Yes, Tim, I think you pointed those out to me, I think.
Okay, what I'd like to do
Yeah.
is combine, get a hold of, I mentioned this the last, get a hold of Waste and Water, but now I talked to Deep Six and he's all by himself. He won't have time or the help to pull the pumps at Line Masters. So if we get Waste and Water up here, we'll get them to do both jobs. That sound all right to you
Okay.
guys?
Yeah, that sounds all right.
Yeah.
We'll pull the one at the pumping station just to clear the pump. That all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we'll pull the pumps at Line Master at the same time. Anyone have anything else to report about maintenance at the pump station?
The last time when I met with Emo from DB Cotton, when we talked about putting that railing around the opening of the wet well,
Yep.
I looked down there and there were a few wipes. It wasn't as bad as when Stu and I were over there, because we did have it pumped after Stu and I were there.
Yeah, I had it pumped just after, I think it was after the Woodstock Fair.
Yeah, and then I had it pumped again.
Just recently, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, recent is kind of.
I mean, time flies.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think about 3 months ago or something, or 2 months ago, something
Yep,
like that.
okay. Yeah.
And he got, quite a bit of the stuff out of there. He did a pretty good job. And that's when I was able to talk to him about the railing system versus a grading system.
Right.
So I guess that falls under pump station maintenance, I guess. You want to talk about that a little bit?
That railing, yeah. If you go ahead and explain that a little bit, Tim.
All right. Yeah, let me see. Well, I don't have a. I sent a picture of it to. I sent
Yeah,
a picture of it to Roger, and I sent a
yeah.
picture of it to Stu.
Yeah, got it, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's just a simple railing, but I was in contact with a company that makes the fittings to to fabricate something like that, because after getting the quote from DB Cotton, it was like over $1,700 to make it out of aluminum, and with welded corners and welded braces and stuff in there. But to put something together with the top quality anodized aluminum aluminum magnesium alloy fittings from Hollander, and then some tubing from railing or by railings out of there north of New Haven, it comes out to about $1,000, and we can adapt it to to fit exactly what we need at the lift station, and save over $700 in the meantime. Plus the railings are aluminum, and they're powder coated with yellow paint, which is something that we weren't going to get from DB Cotton. And the fittings are anodized aluminum, and aluminum alloy, and they have stainless steel set screws, so it should be, a pretty solid unit for a long time to come.
Tim, who would we get to install something like that?
It just takes a chop saw to cut the tubing. So, we could just put it together in my shop and bring it over there. It's it wouldn't be a real big deal to do that.
Yeah, my concern was just mounting it at the station.
Well, when I was
suggestion?
Yeah.
When I was what?
Wait, because I wanted to offer a suggestion that we perhaps get a hold of John Navarro, and his people are pretty flexible, and they're pretty talented as far as for installation of something like that.
Okay. So.
Yeah, what we would have to have are some aluminum pins that are about 3 inches long, that are drilled and tapped on top, and the base plates for this stuff from Hollander they make a special base plate, which is pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it in this instance. It has a 6-inch leg on it that comes off to one side, and that way you can take advantage of where the holes are, yet still have the railing out wide enough where it's not going to interfere with anybody, trying to pump the wet well out.
Okay.
That was an issue that I ran into with Emil, because when you measured the points, it made it a little narrow, but we decided to make these wider base plates to accommodate that, and these fittings from Hollander allow us to do that.
Okay. Do you want to talk to John, or you want me to talk to John, or?
Yeah, I could talk to John.
Okay. Yeah.
So, if you want me to go ahead and order the parts, I'll do that, and then if John can fit it into his schedule, that's fine, and if not, I'd be okay with cutting the pipe and just screwing the thing together.
Okay. And would you mount it at the station, at the pump station?
Yeah, I could do that. I'd have to have some those little pins made, probably down at DB Cotton or another machine shop. But they're just, or I don't know, maybe Ernie Nowakowski over there in Phoenixville would just do them up for us.
Okay.
Stu, you must know Ernie.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
I think that's I have no problem with that whatsoever. but I also realize that, you know, we all are volunteers here, and you've got to go in business there. I don't want to lose you because you get too many things on your plate from the WPCA. I don't misunderstand me. I just,
Yeah.
we can certainly, I think we can certainly afford to get that installed. That would be, once it's installed, it would be there 365, right?
Yeah, and you could just pull it off of the pins, or pull the pins up out of those little locating holes. It just keeps that from moving around, but it would
Yeah.
be easy to pull it off and put it off to one side if you had to pull a pump. So, yeah, but it would stay there full time. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep. Yeah, and that's and I think that's a great idea. I just I don't want it getting the way. I don't want it getting in your way.
Why
For
don't,
what you
why don't we leave it, Stu, that Tim will be only the last resort. We'll talk to John and then we'll,
What did I do? Did I hit something?
Yeah, something froze for a minute.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
I can watch the goings on here. I just can't. For
Well,
some
I
reason,
got
I can't get
video
the
and I
video to
got.
work.
All right. Stop video. What did I do? No. Okay. Well, I seem to be alive. Well, okay. Don't misunderstand me, Tim. And I think Roger, you're right. I think we need to get going with put this project to bed. Are you there, Roger?
Yeah, he's not there. Maybe
I
not.
don't think. Did we lose him, or did you lose me?
No, we got you.
No,
Lost
we
Roger.
got you. Yeah, we got Peter, but we
Lost Roger.
lost Roger.
Come back, Roger.
Somebody needs
Cindy
to-
still listening?
Well, Peter and
I'm
I
still
are.
here. We lost Roger. I'm gonna check to see when he joins back to the meeting. Nothing yet.
give Roger a call.
Yeah, he might not know that he's off.
Yeah. Just as a sidebar, is Rick okay, and he just got other things going on?
I haven't seen him in a while.
thank
We'll
you.
continue.
Okay, I think we're at the point where we're going to Tim installing these gates is the last resort. We'll talk. Tim, you talk to John Navarro.
Yeah. As soon as I get the part, or before I guess I get the parts in, I'll give him a call.
Yeah.
I should have them within a week or so, I guess, if I order them tomorrow.
Okay, and if you, yeah, I would see him as soon as possible and try to get on his list of things so that he'll have it know it's coming up there because he gets pretty tied up on other things.
Yep.
So, okay, could I entertain a motion to accept to have Tim order the parts and talk to John Navarro about getting in the installation. And Tim, let me know if John says he can't do it, and we'll look around for someone that can.
Okay.
Okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
So, could I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll go on to, let's see, the Inn at Woodstock Hill. I just wanted to bring that up. I sent an email to everyone saying that John had his customer was not interested, or at the moment. He is the way he put it, and so that project won't. But it was a total of 119 units, which if the 63 of them were built, that was 17,000 gallons per day more. So that's a lot of going into our system. And plus, with all the, I hope everyone got a chance to look at our policy and procedures on all those paragraphs that I told you about. And I think that was plenty of information for us to make a decision on with, if he brought such, he was just on like a fishing expedition to find out, what we would allow, I think. But, if we were to vote in favor of something like that, we'd be stuck with it. But I think there was enough information there to have us make a sound decision. Did everyone agree with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As just a tag along for
Yep.
what we need to do, we have potentially the same situation at Linemaster, and when they put their mansion and their facility on the sewer system, if I remember correctly, it designates a particular size of area on Linemaster's property that is available for the sewer, but it's not delineated on any maps.
Okay. Yeah, but
It's
I think
kind of wide open. And I
well,
think we need to look at both, well, I mentioned that at that time that we needed to delineate that, but that along with the inn at Woodstock Hill, we need to get some definite boundaries on our sewer district.
okay. I think I'm not going to dig out the map right now, but I'll report back on both Linemaster and the inn, and see if we can cut that down. If it isn't, decrease the amount of make particular boundaries on there, at least on the map for our sewer system.
Right.
And go ahead, Stu.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Roger. You're absolutely right.
But I'll look at both. I thought Linemaster was pretty much cut down to just include where the house used to be on 171, or the inn there, the restaurant they had on there.
No, well, go ahead.
But I'll take a look at it and report back at the next meeting. Okay.
Okay, great.
Both Linemaster and because I agree with you, you don't know about these things until they come up. So we should be in a position to. We did those two fields over by the fairgrounds that were designated open. Were designated in the sewer district. We decreased, changed that around, so we can do that. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We certainly can.
But
And,
I think we just have to have a public hearing. I think as we did at that time, we had a public hearing, which of course no one attends. So, but let us. I'll report back on that for our next meeting. Okay.
okay.
But I think you're right, Stuart, to get ahead of the ball game before we end up with something. Luckily, you brought it to our attention last meeting that when we were talking with John, that there was more to it than that, and I was under the thinking that we only had that just was a blanket thing, and the state had held the paperwork, but it was in our policies and procedures. Once you brought it to my attention, I found that stuff. So that's good. and I think we have to be on the lookout for our own protection where things are expanding, and they look at all this open space as possible land to build on. So let's see, what are we on here? Okay, that's Line Master. Action on the annual grinder pump inspection. I didn't get anything done, but today I took that. There was a list that Cindy had made up, and from what's his name? The fella that did the audit system.
Bruce Williams.
Yeah, Bruce Williams' report. And I sent that to, they were all electrical problems, the one that I sent to Chaput, and asked if I could meet with him and go over these with him to see what he could do for us and get them fixed. So I hope I'll get an answer shortly. If I don't, I'll give him another ring. So, anything more on the annual grinder pump inspections report? Not hearing any?
No.
Okay, service calls. Chaput did spend quite a bit of time and money on the box on Brookwood apartment. And then we had a problem at Brookwood again where it wasn't the pump wasn't running, and I had Deep Six go over, and he said he looked at it and he said he couldn't find anything with the pump problem, so he called Chaput and got Chaput over there, and so we have another bill here that we won't approve tonight because I want to have it with me when I talk with him about it. But it looks like it's the same box he worked on for another $1,000. Hey, Stu, do you remember what the capacitors and the starting capacitors were going for when?
What we were purchasing them for?
Yeah, we'd buy a half a dozen at a time, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and we were getting them from Peeler, and we still get them from Peeler, but no, I don't.
No. Okay, maybe Cindy can find something in the file there from Peeler, is it? Not
Peeler,
Peelers.
yeah, Peeler Electric. And
Okay.
Cindy,
Yes,
if you
I did
if
find
you have
that
a
file the other day.
Oh, you
okay,
did?
If you have-
Yes, I came across it, so I will look through and I can send you what's in there.
yeah,
Okay. That would be good because he just worked on a pump that electrical box again, and he had $500. I think it was about $500 for parts and $500 for labor. So I just was curious as to if he was working on the same things that we were buying and had a few in stock at the Connex container.
Yeah, that seems like a lot. But when I talked to him about, there was I forget the woman's name, had a problem with her grinder pump. This was months back when you were down in Florida.
Okay.
And he said that he was having trouble rebuilding the old boxes because, you just couldn't get a box anymore. And the parts were becoming harder to get or something like that.
Oh,
so
really?
when he
Yeah.
ordered parts, he was, ordering them in multiples, to have something on hand to,
Right,
to
yeah.
go ahead and fix them with. And that's something that I was wondering about. I mean, can you get a pump to operate with a new box? Because the electrical inputs should be similar, I would think. Or do you have to rebuild the old boxes to keep the old pumps working?
I don't know. That's what I wanted to talk to him about when that box for the Brookwood apartment closest to 171 there. He spent quite a bit of time and money on that box replacing parts, and I was just going to ask him if he had to rebuild the whole box. That's the only thing I wanted it for, just to have some information when I talk to him, and kind of tell him what we had been doing and seeing if he thought that was a possibility, or did he just feel much safer building the whole box?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the what I was going to talk with him about, and also line up the jobs there. Some of them are bigger, and some of them look like small jobs, and I was just going to try to get some indication as what he thought the problems could be fixed at. So anyways, if that's my report on service calls.
Well,
Oh, Tony. Excuse me. One more. Tony Foote had a problem too, and he had Glenn fix that one up. So.
Now, Stu, when a grinder pump gets ordered, does it come with a control box, or is that some separate line item?
No, it's a separate line item, and I've spent some time with both Peeler and well, we call them water and waste, but they're it's I guess the Williamson Pump and Motor now. They're operating under a new name, and
Right, I remember that. Yep.
but they're doing, they're performing the same service.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking about what Roger said initially about Glenn. Glenn's working by himself. We It might be time. Well, it's probably past time for us to start to looking around for some kind of alternative. You talk about water and waste coming out and pulling some pumps. Uh, they I messed up. I didn't print their labor rates, so I don't have them in front of me. But they're pretty stiff for them to get out here. They charge us from the time they leave wherever they're, East Oshkosh or wherever they are, and come out here, do the work, and then get on back there. Not that I got any complaint at all about their work, but I'm just thinking that I'm a great believer in working locally if we can.
Right.
And maybe we can't do that. Maybe we just can't do that. But I'd like to investigate that a little bit.
Let me talk to Putnam and see what they do, because I know they're always pulling pumps, and they must have regulator boxes on their pumps, and although they don't get involved in them, it's the owner's responsibility for the electrical box in Putnam.
Right, and this might be a good time to just kind of flail in on this on the along with the service calls, the grinder pump. We have one rebuilt grinder pump in our Connex box, and to buy a replacement, which is a Barnes pump, we're looking at, on today's market, $2,450.
Wow.
I was talking with, in my conversations with Williamson Pump and Motor, they don't rebuild the small pumps, because as the girl told me, she said, well, it just costs as much as it does to get a new pump. And
yeah,
with that, I did some follow-up with Peeler. And Peeler has had two of our pumps down there for, oh my Lord, they're starting to be grandparents, I think. But anyway, they've been down there for a long time, and they haven't repaired them because the windings are gone, and they couldn't get parts. So I asked him, I said, look, we got probably 3 pumps on the shelf that I'd like to bring down to you. first, do we owe you any money for your investigative processes into these two pumps that you're saving as boat anchors down there? And he said, no, no, that's part of what we do. I said, okay, well, then if I bring 3 pumps down to you, I'm thinking we've got 1 pump in the Connex box, and we've got 2 pumps that are over there at Line Master, at the corner property that we need to pull,
Mhm.
and bring them down there to see about getting them rebuilt. Will you do it? And they said yes. And I said, well, what do we said? Look, what we do is we pull them apart, look at them. If it's possible to rebuild them, we can rebuild them. I said, well, what are we talking about? He said, well, probably $1,000 or under.
Mhm. That's a little bit of change there between a brand new pump.
Well, it is, and I'm going back, and my memory is, as I get older, my memory gets worse. But I'm thinking that with all the rebuilt pumps that we've had probably 5 or 6 done by Peeler, and that are actually in the being used now, and I think we've got anywhere from $500 to $700 invested in each one of those pumps.
Mhm. Right.
I'm
So
really beating around the bush saying I think it's a good avenue to investigate.
do you think if we got all the pumps that we have to be overhauled, that they could take parts and make up, a couple of good ones, or out of all?
Roger, I think that if they get into a pump and they find that um, oh God,
One part.
a worn part or a voltage monitor that is bad, they're going to replace
Mhm.
it with a new one. Those
Yeah.
are
I'd hope so,
they're
but
not
I
going to
just,
cannibalize from the other pump.
yeah, yeah.
I told them, I asked them, I said, look, we got 2 pumps down there that you guys you've been babysitting for them for 2 or 3 years, and said, yeah, the windings are no good. We can't do a thing with them. I said, okay, use them as boat anchors. Junk them. Do we owe you any money? And he said, no, we do not. I said, okay, junk them on my authorization. Get them out of your hair.
Yeah, yeah, or at least we won't be expecting them back sometime, and thinking
No,
all the
but
time. So,
and the bottom line is that I think Williamson Pump and Motor would probably um, look at rebuilding the large 15 horsepower pump that we've got in the Connex box that came out of
right,
our pump station,
yeah,
which we need to address.
right,
So
yep,
feel it. So I think once we need to, and I take full responsibility. I've kind of dropped the ball on this, so
Well, it sounds like you did quite a bit of looking into it, though, and have some good background as far as what we can expect or what we should be looking for. Then,
yeah. Well, I think
uh,
that we can, if we can get uh, back in a conversation with Peeler on, we bring them down there, they tear them down, and they say, "Uh-oh, this one's no good, throw it away," and they don't charge us anything for it. They
right,
uh, they say, "Okay, we can fix this one at $700 or $800." Fine. Uh,
yep, yep,
Williamson Pump is not even going to look at the small one.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
right.
would
I
be
know,
inclined.
I know.
I'd
Excuse
go ahead.
me. Go ahead.
I'd be inclined to give Peeler the business on the 15 horse pump based on their performance on the grinder pumps.
I can't agree with you more.
Yeah, they've been doing well by us on the grinder pump. So for the small ones, up
Yeah,
until this point. So
and I'm at the point when I got this figure from Williamson Pump of $2,450 for a
mhm,
replacement pump. I'm thinking, and it's just because I guess I've bought parts for years, but there's got to be somebody else that sells these Barnes pumps. Can we
Right.
go someplace else?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
maybe
don't.
we don't, do we need as big a pump as I mean, they're small pumps, but do we need as big a pumps? They're getting more efficient, with the new equipment coming out. So maybe
Well,
there's something else.
I think that kind of ties back into the initial question that started this whole conversation off. Is we got Chaput down there doing wiring and all that sort of thing. What can we make work with the
Yeah.
equipment that we've got?
Right.
And we've had to change out some float systems and things like that. And I guess I, what I'm beating around the bush, but with your permission, I would call Bruce Williams and discuss it with him and say, "Hey, Bruce, where's our
Yeah.
alternatives?" And I'd like to
That,
be able to come back next meeting and say, "You know what? We don't have an alternative, or you know what? We got three."
yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, you've got my permission. Go ahead and call Bruce. I think that would be a good start. I mean, he's been working with these pumps for quite a while, and he's got quite a bit of knowledge, I'm sure.
Right.
So,
So,
But he knows the
yeah,
vendors.
right,
so Stu,
right.
what are
That's
you
it.
thinking?
Yeah.
Like, Stu, are you thinking about trying to get like a new control box to work an old pump to see if that's a possibility?
Well, no, what I'm thinking is I don't want to spend say $700 on a rebuild pump and then find out that we've got to spend $1,800 on a control box that we need to adapt to this old pump.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
are we, is there a package that we can buy out there? We're looking at $2,450 for a pump right now, but if we were to look at, okay, well, the entire package you could buy for $3,000. What makes
Yeah.
more sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And while you're looking there, Stu, I'm just going to talk to Putnam and see what their customers, clients use. When they've got wet wells, they've got many wet wells. So I'll just nose around down there and see what I can find out down there too. That sound all right?
Okay, I'll talk with Bruce and Chase Bond's pumps. But you both brought up a valid question. We got other things in that wet well besides the pump. We got floats and we got all these control
Yeah.
boxes and
Just a float mechanism. The latest one we bought two of them for. I think it was like $200 a piece or something like that. So I mean, that stuff is either going up in price because it's harder to find, or it's archaic equipment. So yeah, I think we should see about what we're doing. So I think Bruce Williams would be a good place for you to start, Stu. And like I say, I'll nose around in Putnam, and we'll come back next meeting with see what's information we can get. Okay?
Okay.
That's good.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Let's go on to old business. Updating the media at Woodstock Academy. Tim, on one message I saw from the Academy where Sanford said something. Well, maybe this is something we shouldn't proceed with at this time. Is that the latest insinuation from him, or is he still plugging ahead to get
I don't
me?
know. I thought the last thing that he said was, and Cindy can probably, know more about this than myself, but I thought he said that he was waiting on us to come up with something, like, an approval on the pump or something like that. That's what his holdup was.
Yeah.
Because with him looking at the price from Neponset, I don't forget what the price was, around $500 for that pump, or for the
meter,
for the flow meter. I think he would probably pursue that.
But if he looks at Academy South, they've got quite a few separate entrances onto our sewer system. So it would be more than just one pump for each area. Down there, it would be quite a few pumps along the way there.
Well, yeah, and I think when he was talking to Neponset about that, and I think Stu was there. We were looking at whether there was one point where they could put a flow meter that would capture the data for several of the the tributaries that combine down there.
Really? Yeah.
And,
Yeah, they had, that as I remember it, he just because of the multi discharges they have down there at South Campus,
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of focusing on North Campus and just letting South Campus go as it is.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Roger, I could say
Yes.
a few things. So,
Yep.
the last email I recall from Chris was that Neponset had reached out to him and said, what's the status? And he responded and said that he can't proceed until WPCA gives him approval to start the work, if you will. So I think it's up to WPCA to probably give him the green light on what Neponset is proposing, and then it's up to him if he wants to do it. That's my interpretation of that email.
Okay. Yes. I saw where. I mean, I remember all the information that he sent us, putting it back on our shoulders. But there was one, and I can't remember whether it was before or after that. I just saw the little notation and said, well, maybe this isn't the time to be doing that or something. And so I just didn't know where in the progress, the stage of looking at this thing, did he come out and say that, whether it was early in the game before he knew what he was getting into or after he found out everything. So that's the only reason I brought that up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, giving Tom Cummins down there, a call about or an email about, figuring out who had one of these things and how they liked it. Roger and I talked about it today. To give us the name of some guy out in Pennsylvania who's using it to monitor water outflow from a powdered metal processing plant, just isn't really very helpful. I think we need to contact Neponset again and say, ask them if there's somebody local, who they've sold this thing to, or what are local people using for open channel, monitoring.
Right. Yeah.
Or flow metering, because we can't be the only ones around here looking at an open channel flow meter.
No.
I think I've said it before. I think we need to point out to Chris or Woodstock Academy that we brought Neponset in because they were looking for somebody that had the ability to monitor discharge flow. They were somebody that we have utilized. It is not to be considered a recommendation for us. They, as Woodstock Academy, if they want to change over their metering methods, it's their responsibility to go out and find the appropriate equipment. When they make a selection, then at that time they would submit to us the equipment that they are proposing to use. We would run it by our engineers and either accept or not accept it. We are not, I don't want to see us put in a position where we are a specifying entity. We either accept or we don't accept equipment that will do the job, but we don't have any reason, or we don't have any authority to designate who their equipment should come from, nor should we be doing the legwork for
Yeah.
Stock Academy if they want to change over their metering system.
Yeah, no, I agree there. We shouldn't be doing that, and it seems like we get wrapped up in what we're doing and end up trying to do something like this. Um, so what what we could do is you want to think writing him a letter just saying that almost expressing as you were mentioning.
Well,
I,
well,
I'm
we've
sorry. Go ahead,
we've
Tim.
made it really clear to the academy that we want absolute control over whatever it is that they're deciding to put in there. We brought in Neponset, just to be helpful, I guess, and we did pull a few manhole covers, found a good spot for this thing. So Neponset was the one that made this suggestion of using this this DB Mach 3 flow meter. So let's just leave it at that then. Forget about trying to track down who has one of these things and how they like it. Let's just put it up to the engineer, because that's what Chris Sanford picked for monitoring the flow. And let's just see what the engineer has to say about it, and then just tell Chris, yeah, go ahead and get this thing installed.
Yeah. Well, we still want to maintain, as Stu says, run it across our engineers.
Well, let the engineer make the determination as to whether that's a good flow meter for that particular application.
Yeah.
And then just see what happens. Because we can always take a look at the data that's coming off of that meter, compare it to what we've had before from the well, from what their well usage was, and see whether we think it's performing adequately.
But go ahead, Stu.
I was thinking, I'm sitting there listening, I'm thinking that what we need to, what I'm thinking we should tell the academy is, if in fact you choose to change from your present metering device, it is your responsibility to come up with a replacement, submit it to us to see if it would be acceptable to us. And once it is either accepted, if it's accepted, then make the decision whether you're going to install it or not. But if it's not accepted, then you need to go on and find something that is acceptable to the Water Pollution Control Commission.
Yeah, that's fine.
That sound all right?
Yeah, but right now we have that Pulsar DB Mach 3, and that's the one that's been picked. So, is there any reason we can't just forward that to Lori over there at Ty and Bond, or
Sure.
or if you want to bring it up with Justin,
Yeah. I haven't talked. Go ahead, Stu. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think there's a very good reason we can't do that, Delory, because until Woodstock Academy makes their decision on what piece of equipment they want to use, why should we bear the brunt of doing any legwork or do the evaluation of it? If Chris
Yeah.
Sanford comes back and says, I want to use this monitoring device as a discharge meter, you say, okay, fine, Chris, give us 6 sets of submittals. We need to give them to our engineer to see if, in fact, that is acceptable to the Woodstock WPCA. Once we get the submittals, then we run it by Lori, which costs us dollars, which we forward back to Woodstock Academy and say, yes, it works. or no, it does not work, go find something else.
Yeah. Tim, the way you feel is that he's already said he's just waiting for us to get back to him, which is definite. Cindy just sent me his last communication there saying that he's been waiting for us. So we'll tell him, is that your decision to install that? Or you go ahead and proceed and get a final quote on installation and the whole works, and then we'll present this to our engineering?
Well, there's a little more to it than that because he wants to install it on town property.
Yeah.
So we're, to me, we'd have to go ahead and get our engineer to approve the device he wants to use, and then we're going to have to go ahead and get permission from the town or whatever, the historic district up there. I don't know who approves that before they can put that thing in. And he's going to, if we get the approval for him, then he's going to use his own electrician to put the thing in. I don't know how much the installation cost is going to be, but he's going to keep it to a minimum, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I really think the whole works. We have to have our engineering people on top of it, the complete installation of it too, just as we follow the INS progress,
Yeah, because I'm sure when he saw that quote and saw that it only cost, it was less than $600 for this device, that he would like to do it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I still think we need to make it perfectly clear to Woodstock Academy that we are not the cork in the bottle here. We are simply the controlling utility, and he needs to satisfy our requirements. The way he satisfies our requirements is to come up with an alternative to what he is using now and submit it to us, who in turn will run it by our engineering department and either accept or reject the equipment.
Okay, that sound all right to you, Tim?
Yeah, but I think that's in effect of what he's done.
Well,
he's only got
and he is putting, from what Cindy said, he's putting the burden on our back. I'm waiting to hear from you. You know what? He's not waiting to hear from us. We are monitoring his discharge or his water intake. We're billing him. If he wants to change it, then he's got to get off top dead center and do it. What we did, which I think we were maybe in looking hindsight, we might have been too much of a nice guy. We go up there and said, "Yeah, we got an pond, so we can bring these people in."
Yeah.
Well,
Right,
the reason I think the reason we brought Neponset in is because they do flow monitoring. We trust them. They've worked, done work for us for years. We bought stuff from them, and we had an element of control with what the academy was doing.
Yeah.
Rather than having them buy something from Amazon. I mean, which.
Well, you're right, Tim. But with that said, I think it's time for us to say, hey, we brought in a vendor that we've had business with and we've got a great deal of faith with. It's now. You got the ball. It's in your court. You deal with them or don't deal with them. If you don't want to deal with them, go find somebody else.
But we want to be satisfied, so he's going to have to give us some more solid information about the equipment he's using, and make us feel comfortable with him using his equipment.
Roger, that would go right back to if he goes out and says, "Okay, well, I've dealt with Neponset, but I've got I got Harry Hustle, who's up here in Suffield, Massachusetts, making a piece of equipment, and I really want to use it. Fine, submit it. Give us submittals on it. We'll see what
That's
it does.
that's what I mean. He has to give us some
He
equipment,
has,
some details, not just say this is what the equipment I'm using. He's got to give
right.
us more precise details on and what it can do. So
And then
Well,
we turn that over to somebody like Titan Bond or Justin or whoever we're using at the
yep,
present time and say, hey, will this do what we need it to do?
right. Okay.
Well,
Cindy, you were going to say something?
Well, I just wanted to remind you that we did send him a letter on April 7th, around that time frame, just reminding him that he has to adhere to the policies and procedures of the WPCA board, so that if he's doing any proposed changes to the system, he needs to contact us and it needs to go through the proper protocol. So he did
Right.
receive that letter. So maybe Neponsit is the only thing he's thinking he's going to use. I could always email him and just inquire if that the quote they're going with. And if he says yes, then we could send it to the town engineer at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
but that's the way I understood it. That's exactly the way I understood it, because he got the quote. It shows,
Right.
This pulsar, whatever DV Mach 3, and that's the quote on it. It gives the quote with a certain number of feet of wire and all this other stuff. And I think that's what he wants to go with, at least at this point. So
I can email him
yeah,
tomorrow and confirm
Yeah.
if that is the quote, and if he responds favorably to it, then I'll let you all know, and then it can go. That quote from the Neponsit would then go right to the town engineer, I assume, for their feedback.
yeah,
We
I
could-
think that
Yeah.
if in fact that's what he wants to do, you need to advise him to uh, provide us with submittals on the equipment that he intends to use, so we can have it reviewed by our engineer.
Okay, and those
Yeah.
you refer to submittals, are those like documents in the policies and procedures manual?
No, those
No.
submittals would be a description of the function of the equipment,
Well,
how it
Stu,
works.
did you see the quote?
Uh,
Did you see the quote from the Neponsit?
I did.
Yeah. That had all that information in there.
Yeah, it was
Well,
pretty clear.
yeah, but
So
I'm no argument there. But what I'm saying is, here I'm a dairy farmer. I don't know feet from inches. Uh, what I want is something that maybe Justin or whoever, 6 copies that come in, and they go to an engineer and they review them and they say, yes, this will provide you the information that you need to build them on a regular basis, or no, it won't. And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's in the file, and when it sits right down, and when uh, Tim, Tim and I and Roger and everybody votes, says, okay, yes, we'll accept that equipment, we've got something behind us that says we reviewed it and we did our due diligence.
Right. But so if we take this equipment, this bid that he has, we have Cindy write him a letter saying, okay, are you people certain, or is this the only equipment that you're going to look at before you install the equipment? And if they say yes, then we say we're going to present this to our engineering company, to have them review it to make sure that it's going to give us the definite information that we want.
Right, it should be the
Yeah.
equipment and the location of installation.
Right. I mean, I think there's a couple of steps here, because we've got to approve the location. I mean the equipment itself first, and if that equipment passes our muster, then we say, okay, give us detailed drawings on how this is going to be installed. Then.
Well,
No,
I think,
no. The engineer is going to have to know the installation too,
Yep.
because the turbulence of the flow affects the accuracy of the meter.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's stated in their in that bid, all the bid information. Or, I mean, that's something that the engineers can look at and say.
yeah, well, Tim,
I
don't
mean,
let me.
where'd you get that? Where'd you get that information from, Tim? Verbally from on the
Well,
Ponset, or?
we went popping manholes until we got enough, quiet
Yeah.
flow to be accurately monitored. I mean, Stu was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took, we had to open several before everything kind of evened itself out, because according to the specs on that particular unit, the grade can't be any more than, what was it, Stu, 2% or something?
Something like that.
I mean,
And-
it was not
Pretty
a lot.
flat,
that's
huh?
for sure. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty flat.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason, and I don't mean to be a PIA on this, but the reason I want to do this is that if whoever we have review it takes a look, first of all, Neponset is in the business of selling equipment, and I know that they're straightforward and all that, but they're not going to tell you it. This is probably a bad piece of equipment for that, or they
Mm-hmm.
may. But the engineer will say, look, because of the flat runout of 340 feet from this last drop, the turbulence is such that this particular metering device will not accurately register flows below 1,000 feet per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making this up as we go along, but
Right.
they're the ones who will say, okay, that's too much drop. No, the turbulence will drive you nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we go ahead, Tim.
There was one other problem with that meter, as far as the amount of the way the flow comes from the academy, is there was that trickle. You remember that, Stu?
Yep.
There was like a constant trickle that the meter would not pick up. The only
Oh.
time the meter would measure the flow is when that discharge pump on that holding tank let everything go.
So
And
they
then
might have
the flow goes up.
they might have to change that so it's more of a constant flow or if that meter is not suited for it, to pick up a trickle, which we find that very detrimental to our pricing. So.
Well, yeah, because a trickle can add up to a lot of
Yeah.
gallons over the course of a year. So, but when we were talking to Tom and Gary, the two sales engineers, they said there's nothing really that's going to be able to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right, Stu? I
Yeah.
mean, is my memory
Yeah,
correct on that?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are, Tim. You are, and I'm not. I'm not trying. God, it sounds like I'm picking at straws here, but um, I I constantly think that we need to get somebody that's a third party. Woodstock Academy is buying, the Ponce selling, and we're going to be monitoring. We need that third party, that engineering firm that
Mm-hmm.
says, hey, you're monitoring and you're going to be billing them out on this. You guys are going to be all right. Or no, you're not going to be all right.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
I mean, that would be like Ty and Bond, someone who can
There you go.
figure all this out, where it's going to give us the best readings. So,
Yeah.
Well, we told Chris Sanford early on that whatever he picked was going to get run by our engineer. I mean, that
Yep.
he knew that.
yeah.
That was part of the whole thing, from the start. But to me, in order for the engineer to make an accurate determination as to whether or not that thing is going to work, they have to see how the flow works at the academy. They have to know that there's a holding tank that gets pumped out after it gets filled up, and so many gallons get pumped down through this thing.
Yep.
And then there's this trickle thing that happens afterwards that I'm not sure where that water comes from. But
Okay.
I think they would actually have to see this thing in action.
They would have to actually.
Coronavirus the way it is, they're not going to be able to see anything.
Yeah, but whoever we get for engineering is going to have to come out here and do a build up of how it's going to operate, and to satisfy themselves and to satisfy us.
Yeah.
So what I think the first note is that Cindy sent Mr. Sanford a letter saying that we are, if he is definite on using this equipment, we are going to start incurring some engineering costs which will be passed along to them, and that will proceed with this equipment, and as far as where the best location for installation and all that stuff is,
Yeah, there'd be a site visit and all that other, maybe even more than one site visit.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Woodstock Academy needs to specify to us that they have made they are in the process of trying to determine an alternative meeting device, and this is the equipment that they are proposing to replace their existing metering system with. At that point, we in turn say, fine, send us submittals. We will first run it by our engineers to see if in fact it is acceptable as an alternative metering device.
That's what I mean, and we've got to let them know that we're going to start incurring costs that are going to be passed along to the academy.
Right.
We're not going to go through all this and then end up with a bill and then just have them say, well, that's all right, thanks anyways.
Yeah, well, I think as we go along, and Tim spent a lot of time up there, I spent a little bit of time, everybody spent some time up there. We've been nice guys, but now it's the time, if Woodstock Academy is serious about doing this, then they need to get off their dime and approach it in a professional manner. Not just not doing the good old boy thing. Oh God, Stu said it would look good, so let's put it in. No way.
No, well that's what I was afraid of when we were talking. That someone told me, I talked to these guys and they said it's fine. So okay.
No, that's why he's holding it up. He knows that our engineer has to look at it.
Yeah.
We've made that really clear early on, because he asked me, what did he say? Something about it, he has all that property up there. He could put a meter in further up or something. He said this to me in a private conversation, and he says, well, what would you do there? And I said, well, we wouldn't accept your data. And,
I remember that.
And that was the end of that conversation. So he knows that whatever he chooses to do has to be run by our engineer. He knows it. And he knows that it's going to cost him to do it. But we should probably reiterate that, with Cindy's letter saying, we're, if you want to go ahead and use this pulsar meter, go ahead and, put a submittal in, and we'll forward it to the engineer, and costs will be incurred, that you're going to have to pick the tab up on. So,
what I want to get away from is having him indicate to Cindy or emails or things like that, well, God, we'd love to do this, but we're waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, right. They're putting the dime back on our back. Yeah.
That is not correct.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got the flavor. Cindy, do you have the flavor of the sketch out a letter just so we can see what it looks like, and then then we'll forward it to them?
Yes, that's perfectly fine. I'll take care of that tomorrow when I'm in the office.
Okay, and I'm going to stop in too, so I'll hopefully be able to talk to you from a distance.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Any more on this subject? Anyone else have anything more to add to old business, updating the meter at the academy? If not, we'll go on to the Ponset calibration. We were looking at the Ponset, the two calibrations that they did, one recently, and there wasn't much change. So what's your feeling on if we set a pattern and put it on our calendar that we recalibrate this meter twice a year? Would that, do you think that would be spaced far enough apart?
What?
I kind of think 3 times. Well, it depends on how clean the thing is, because that really affects the the numbers.
Yeah.
It's kind of good just to get them down there, just to clean the darn thing, without having Putnam go down there with that whatever they did the last time and knock the thing off kilter.
Knocked everything. Right. Yep.
Yeah. But there was another calibration in there that wasn't accounted for because it wasn't billed. When he came back in and he fixed it from when he did it on the 31st of
yeah, that's right.
2018.
Right.
Yeah.
It was really it was still giving us excuse me, erratic readings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was another one in there,
So what are you saying, Tim? A couple times or?
If you want to try that, if you want to try to do it, semi-annually, twice a year, we could see what happens there.
Okay. And when was the last time that you calibrated it? Just
whatever the last invoice was.
Yeah.
That's when
when
Brian Lynch was helping out.
It was in the spring. Yeah, I imagine.
Actually, that went pretty well. It really did.
Did it really?
Yeah,
Good.
Not initially, but after the fact, it did. Yeah.
After the big wind blew over or something, huh?
Yeah. Well, after Mike left.
Yeah.
Mike or whatever his name is.
Ditko, D-I-D-K-O or something.
Didetko or.
Yeah, Didetko. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's the sewer guy.
Yeah, well.
But anyways, so twice a year, then we'll see how it goes.
Can do that. Yeah.
And we'll look at it. I think we'd get better results if we did one in the spring and one in the fall.
Yeah, because this was done, March?
Yeah, and I think you have a better chance of getting I&I and stuff then too, so that you take that into consideration. And the fall will be hopefully a little bit drier unless we have hurricanes coming through. So we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it in the wintertime when they're in the middle of the winter and trying to dig up.
Yeah, definitely not. So. Let me see. March 3.
I just
March September.
I must be in charge of mud in the water, but I was thinking.
Well, you're in the right business.
Yeah, well, I guess so. That's a nice way to put it.
But it's not mud.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that what happened to us in a 6 to 8 month period when we had this meter all askew, and we were paying through the nose to the town of Putnam.
Yes.
And I'm saying, I'm looking at these invoices, and it's basically, I'm looking at 482 and 541. I'm saying, okay, because you're a simpleton, $500 a quarter, there's $1,000, $2,000 a year. to make sure our meter is reading correctly. Um, I'm thinking 4 times a year.
Well, I think if we started off 2 times a year and we find it really bouncing, I think we have some pretty good solid data looking back to know when we can expect different readings. And I think if we start with 2, if it looks like it's getting out of kilter in between, maybe we can change it for 4 to 3 times a year. You know, do it every 4 months. And
How about a meeting of the ways? If we do it, we set it up for 2 times a year, but at our monthly meetings, that if we see that we get a 4 or 5 week period where readings start to skyrocket, we can bring him back in to have it checked.
yeah, I mean that would be fine. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind doing it. I mean, they do it when we call anyways. It isn't on a prescribed amount, so a prescribed time of years. So we'll start it 2 times a year, and we'll just follow, which we are now, looking at it. And if we see it getting really out of kilter, I think we know what out of kilter is. So we can have them come back and take a look at it and see if it's a meter problem. That sound all right?
As it is right now, do you want to go like sometime in September, because that would be 6 months from March?
Yeah, I was thinking September or October.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Let's aim for the first part of God. If we aim for the first part of September, that means that maybe we could get it checked out before the Woodstock Fair comes
Well, I
up.
don't think the Woodstock Fair is happening this year.
We'd have to do that in August sometime then.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, I think the Woodstock Fair would give us a good example of whether we think it's out of kilter or not. If that doesn't go sky high, or if it does go sky high, and we know what that does to the sewer system. So.
Well, it's an average of 300,000 gallons or something, I think.
Yeah, for 4 days, you know.
Yeah.
So that would really give us an indication, and and also it's at the time you get a heavy flow of, if you guys when you opened up the manhole at the fairgrounds, did you notice a buildup near their Ventori there?
We didn't get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We can maybe do it in this better weather. I'll see if we can get Sig down here to open one up and take a look at it.
Well, if we go with March, and then we go on, March was what, 3rd month, and we go on the 9th, that'd be September, October.
Yeah. What we'll do is let's shoot for October, and then we can do 6 months from there. If we, and we'll just plan it from whenever we do it in October, say like the first week in October, and then do it 6 months from that, which would put us in the spring, right?
Yeah. Why don't
like
we
March?
have,
Something March. Yeah.
Why don't we have Cindy put that on our calendar? Right. In September. Okay. Order the calibration of the meter for next month.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, do we want to get parent sanitation over there to clean the wet well?
Well, we usually do that after.
Yeah,
we usually do that after the fairgrounds. And I usually dump in some of that stuff they have to
That
cut the grease.
Degreaser
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What I do is I shut the pumps off and let it build up because, as you notice, looking down in there, that grease ridge is a little bit higher than the normal flow, and so I'll shut them both off and just let it build up a little bit so that when I pour the stuff in, it's right on top there.
how good of a job does that stuff do in breaking that grease ring up?
I really can't tell you that I've seen any difference, to tell you the truth.
Oh.
And I think that stuff is because the water's always circulating down through there, that you pour it in. I think if it's going to do anything, like I say, when you shut it off and let it rise up to that point, and then as it goes down, it coats it and maybe helps it break up. That's the only thing.
Because I know when Andrew was there from Parent Sanitation, he was, trying his best he could with that hose to break that stuff up, and
yeah. That's sometimes, and some of the balls of grease that he gets in there, they won't go down the hose. He has to chop them up.
Yeah.
So, not pretty.
Nobody wants to be Andrew, I don't think.
No. So, anyway, so Cindy, we'll start off and put it in September. We'll call for early October calibration of the meter at the Putnam discharge, and then we'll go 6 months from that date and do it again. Okay,
sounds good. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Next thing is, and Tim, I think you asked for this, Venture Communications, revisit alarm security system at lift station.
Yeah, I looked at it again. And I think Stu was the one who mentioned the last time too that since we had that device down there replaced, for the phase loss, we've certainly not gotten much in the way of phone calls. So
No.
I think if we just left it the way it is, it's fine.
Okay.
Without pursuing that.
Yep. Yeah, I do too, because I get the calls, you get the calls, Stu gets the calls, and I have been very silent, thank goodness. So, and I guess the rest of you have.
Yeah.
So excuse me. Okay, we'll leave Venture Communications as it is, and we'll see.
Take that off of the list there.
Yeah.
For old business.
Okay. 6 there, system maintenance update, grinder pump repairs. I think we covered a lot of that on our previous and new business there when we were talking about pumps. Anything more anyone want to say about that?
Not I.
Okay. Then we'll leave it as I'm going to call. I know it's a different company now, but water and waste, and get them up here. I'll check it out, see what they cost first, make sure it's not outrageous. Plus, I'll find out from Putnam who they have the lift pumps out, and
I'll check with Bruce Williams.
Yeah. Okay. But we'll work to get those 2 pumps out of Line Master, and lifting the pump that has the rags and junk all around it down at the the fairground wet well.
Right.
Okay. That sound all right?
Yep. Good.
Okay. The next thing is the weekly meter readings, and that chart. Does everyone have that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
The latest the latest ones on that are look real good. It actually starts on page 2. If you, we just got a bill for the period 2/24/20 through 5/25/20
From town of
And
Putnam.
from the town of Putnam, $35,000, which isn't too bad here. So, we had some of the higher months right there. You see 600, 700,000, 750. But now this next bill that's coming up, if you go to page 2, that's where we start down through the middle of the page there. You can see 2/24/20. That's where the bill starts. And then it goes down through the bottom of the page, 5/25. And and then you go, let's see.
Yeah, to the last page with like the last month here in June.
Right.
Yeah, the flows are down quite a bit. Yeah.
Right. The flows are really getting, well, that's the academies, you know, all the schools are not operating. And so that really slows it down. And the inn has been real slow. This month, Hallmark Cards is in town. Did everybody know that?
No.
They're filming in Woodstock and Putnam, so they're using both the inn. They've rented for the whole month of July, and then also at Line Master, they're taking over the
Mansion.
entertainment center down there, and then they're filming one place down in Putnam too. So, but other than that, things are slowed down. So that's why we're getting the real low readings there. You see 289 on 6/29/20. So, and then if you go back to page 1, you'll see the 7/6/20 is actually the first one of the new 2021 year, and that's only 334,000 gallons, up to 335.
Yeah,
so
the water
those
table's down and all that. So.
Yeah, well, we're still getting some, heavy rain every once in a while around here, so
Yeah.
it's going crazy, but so.
It's still dry.
Yep, it is. Things are dusty, so.
Now, I have a question on the, or are we to that point yet? The quarterly meter readings?
Yeah. Right.
Now, how are they billed? I mean, are they billed? They're billed net flow in gallons, right? They take the net flows.
Yeah.
Because the total gallons, like on the Academy South, 3 million gallons. That's, what is that from? What is that even from?
That's for last year. I
It's
mean,
total.
for the year ending April.
Oh, all right.
That's where I took that last reading. So, and then any place where that drops below an EDU, 1/12 of an EDU. So take the 860,000 that are $860 they pay. If they drop below that, I give them that minimum gallonage for the quarter that I'm reading. But they don't get charged, and they still, most of them except for the inn, gets charged once a year. So. And Jeffco is now, Crabtree and Evelyn is now Jeffco, and they only have three meters, 3 wells. So they have 4 meters, and one meter is a meter that feeds their fire tank. They have a fire tank there that they have to operate once a week, and it comes down to. But they put Jeffco just put a meter on it, so they can tell how much gallonage they're using for spraying over the ground. So that I'll carry on the new sheet. I'll get with Cindy and we'll come up with a new sheet for the where Crabtree and Evelyn is, and it'll be Jeffco. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So that one, and also when the inn came online, I mentioned it to Linda. But I should have followed up with a letter to her and everybody, just to keep them, that they actually started on, let's see, what's the zero, when I had been reading their values on there, and I put it on the sheet, but I didn't let Linda know that, hey, disregard the value at the first reading of this year, and so she charged him that. So I think we may. And I talked to Richard at the end, and he's paid the bill, so he didn't. But I don't want to cheat him out of it. So I'm going to get with Linda and see what we'll do, and we may end up giving them $1,200 back, something like that. And I've got all the readings except for the elementary school, and they're all down. I don't have them on a new sheet yet, but as I say, we'll get a new sheet out. Okay.
Okie doke.
Anything more on that?
I guess the only thing I was wondering about, and I'm sure this COVID-19 has certainly changed how we're going to approach this, but talking to Putnam about the fact that, our flows have normalized, and, you can clearly see that we were overpaying before.
Yep.
And we'd like to see, some sort of satisfaction, whether it's a credit or something, for the overage that we paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a WPCA meeting in Putnam and brought that up at the meeting. And just before I went to Florida, so I haven't had a chance to work on anything. But they said, work it up and get with Brian, and then he'll bring it to the board, to the WPCA, about making up what we think we were overcharged and seeing what they'll accept. Yeah. Okay. So I still have to dig out the figures and get those. I've been away so long and not getting with you guys, so I guess I didn't pass that along to you, I don't think. But I did attend one of the meetings I tried to go to, and I got to the town hall and said canceled. So I went the next month, and I caught them. They were there. So, well, I just sat through the whole meeting.
If we could work it out where I had another trip down to do a recalibration, because Lynch, he was a kind of different after we went through with the calibration. I mean, he was actually personable.
Really?
Yeah. I would. Let's try to get that recal done in September, and I'll give him a call way in advance this time and make sure that he's there, and just try to develop a little bit more of a rapport, because we certainly didn't have a good start with those guys down there.
No, you didn't.
So,
but I heard about it. He slammed that phone down on my ear so hard. he left it ringing for quite a while. So just so you don't think
Now, which time was this? The last
that
time I was down there?
no, not the last time. There was the time
the
that
time
you were
before?
doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you caught what's his name, the guy from the Ponset. You caught him on his way back from someplace, and so he stopped in and did the recal.
Yeah.
And you called him that same morning to say you were going to be there, and he didn't get to something, miscommunication somewhere. But he called me, and I started to tell him that I had talked to you already, and he slammed that phone down in my ear. He was so teed off that.
Well, I was talking to Didacto at the time, and emailing him because it was just easier for me to email.
Yeah,
and
right.
he was getting the emails instantly, but Lynch wasn't, and that's why he was pissed.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
He was, but it doesn't take much. Doesn't take much to get Brian teed off. So he might be teed off one week, and the next week he'll be not kind as anything. So I've known him a long time. So
I'll just. See
you don't think October will be early enough? If we give them a schedule and say, hey, and we'll let you know the week we're going to do it.
Yeah, if you think, if you think you want, I don't know how long you want to wait before you get those figures down to Putnam.
Well, I'd rather let them know ahead of time, just that we're working. And what I'll do is I'll again get with Cindy, and we'll come up with a letter just to inform them that we're going to be calibrating the meter twice a year, and it'll be in. But we'll let you know before we do it. Try to give you as much notice as possible.
Yeah, because when
right?
I schedule with Neponset, I mean, we can do it. They usually, I don't know how far out they book, but I could give them, a month's notice at least.
Well, we'll just try it. As long as we can notify Putnam is the big thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and once he knows you, I think that's half the problem. They were taken over after that company that did their well work, their sewer and water works, and
Suez.
He thought Suez, and he thought everyone was trying to screw him. So he was just, and I don't blame him. He came in new, not knowing a thing, and here we are coming up with talking about getting a credit for a bad meter, So, hey, he's questioning. So he just sometimes questions harder than others. So. Let's see, Crabtree, and let's see, financial, where are we? Rainfall data, that is coming. Cindy has it set up with Jeff, I think it is, in the water department where they take the rain gauge, and where they have the rain gauge, and so he sends it to her periodically, so that will be following on the sheet. And then the... let's see. The commercial meter readings. I've got all but the elementary school readings, and I'll have them by the next meeting on a sheet of paper where you can see them. So we had one. We had a major leak problem at the elderly Roxbury Village. And so they changed the meter a couple times before they realized that it wasn't a meter problem. It was leaking in the ground, and the line was like over 6 feet below the ground. So they had to dig that up and fix it. And so anyways, I had to do an average and come up with an average, and then now that I know where their zero is, and we're going from there. That should work out all right. And when they got their bill, the next item down is in correspondence. They got their bill, and they just called to just ask nicely what whether that looked like an average bill that you got, and I send them the past 5 years showing that we were right in the ballpark with the amount of reading, and I told them that In fact, they were probably making out a little bit better because I had to use an average, and that most of the residents were stuck in house and probably using more water. So,
Yeah, for sure.
so
Yeah.
they probably made out better. So, and they were happy with that. So it didn't help that it doesn't hurt that my wife's the chairman of the the group what is
Elderly
it
housing.
elderly housing thing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Putnam is the one that actually does all the work there. So, anyways, let's see. I don't think there's anything else. Does anyone else have anything they would like to bring up? Any other?
Yeah, payment of the bill, can't we?
Oh yeah, I guess we had better do that, Stu.
You got the treasurer's
Oh,
report.
then the treasurer's report too. Sorry, Peter. Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let's get to weekly meter and payment of the bills there. I think the total bills are $36,006, and the big one on there. Let's see. We don't have the. Yeah, we have the. Let's see. Yeah, the $35,000 bill on there. So we just need a motion to.
Move to approve it.
Somebody second that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Unanimous. Okay, that's the payment of the bills. Crabtree and Evelyn, we had overcharged them when we made out their bill and when they closed, but they still owe the town some money, so the reason it says credit, it went back, we were overcharged them $213, but it went back to the town because they underpaid something that they should have paid. So they still owe the town some money, so. Anyways, it just changed hands. So the treasurer's report.
Probably the best way to summarize the treasurer's report is the one I sent the one out for 7/9/2020 to everybody.
Yeah.
If you turn to page 9, the thing that probably is immediate interest is the fund balance that was recorded on that date by the Treasury Department of $254,109.77. That's the fund balance, and the real fund balance would be that minus the bills that you just approved, 36,000, because that 36,000 will be taken out of the 2019-2020 fiscal year calculation. And so the fund balance will be 254,109.77 minus 36,603. Well, that's what you're about within a reasonable amount. That's what your fund balance is today.
It's looking better. We're gaining. So.
Yeah.
I have a question. With, the budget that you sent out showed a 86,000 something left to pay Putnam over that on that fiscal year 19 to 20. The 35,000 comes out of that figure, correct, Peter?
35,000 will be added on page, you're talking about page 1 where it says wastewater treatment.
Right.
The 36,000 that you just approved will be added to the 65,622.85.
So that where it shows the 86,000 balance, that's actually going to be 35,500 less.
If you look on page 1, Stu.
Yes,
Yeah.
35.
Well, I didn't print it out. I'm just doing this from memory.
The year expended to date to Putnam for wastewater treatment is $114,377.15.
Right.
So
But
we'll add to that when we do the final calculation for this fiscal year, $36,006.03. And that'll be the
right,
total amount that we ended up paying wastewater treatment.
right. But my
Oh.
my point being that we have a excess of money that in our 19 to 20 budget that we allowed for wastewater treatment, correct?
Well, you have a lot of excess on a lot of line items, and that will,
Well, I
that'll
understand
just be,
that, but I'm speaking about the wastewater treatment.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay, my question is, that begs, for a number of years, we've been underfunded with our budget, and we've had to go to our fund to pull money from that to satisfy Putnam.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can take and actually earmark some of that excess to go back in to readjust those figures?
Well, not
The
really, that doesn't work that way as far as the accounting is concerned, in the treasurer's office. Anything that's left over as surplus from this budget amount that will be finalized, and audited, in August, goes back into the general fund, which, I just referred to in terms of being a fund balance. So in essence, what you're asking about happens in the accounting system anyway, Stuart.
Okay, okay, because our all the excess goes back into our fund.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
they on paper they added to our fund, but it's all in one encumbered fund that is invested, and through the year as we spend money, Karen will write the checks and keep track of that, and then periodically she takes money out of that total fund from our account on paper and pays the town back. So
that I understand. My concern, it begged the question because for a number of years while we were dealing with the erroneous reporting to Putnam and having to pay that amount of money, our fund took it on the chin.
Yeah, and there were years there where we didn't raise the rates,
Right.
enough
yeah,
and we took a lot out of the
Yep.
so-called
right,
fund to cover
right.
the difference. But
All right.
But
you're better
Stu,
off. We're
Stu,
better
when
off-
you get, go ahead, Peter.
we're better off, we're doing fine now in the sense that if we do our accounting like we're doing now, we can keep track of how much is in the fund, and then from there we can go and decide, when we talk about rate increase, what we need to do and when we need to do it.
All right.
Right. Stu, when you get when you get to the place where you can look at this report, on page 1, the amount we pay for waste treatment is right on page 1, and like Peter said, up until this point we had paid $114,377 to Putnam, and then just add this last bill that we just approved, which covers from almost to the end of the year.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that, and I was looking, quite honestly, Roger, I was looking at, you go all the way over to the right, there's a
Yep.
column there that has the remaining balance
Right.
at allocated money, and I was looking at that.
Yeah, right. It shows, that we have 65,000 in that fund. We have 65,000 left, so, and
Yeah.
then there's a couple of other places there where we have $2,300 at $500, you know. So if you look through there, it's going to total that we don't spend will go back into will stay in the fund, you know.
Right.
Is the way it actually works. So okay, let's see. Did we cover everything, or did I skip over something? Or let's see. Crabtree enabling, rainfall data, payment of the bills, big report, the treasurer's report. Now, Peter, next month your report will actually show where we were after all the bills are paid, right?
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
they've done the audit, it'll be an audited amount.
I doubt if it'll be
Right.
audited so soon. Yeah.
Identified for the fiscal year 1920. And then
Yeah.
we'll have our first accounting for the new fiscal year, probably by the end of August too.
Right.
What
Okay. Great.
you guys want
Well,
that?
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of what they're going to do? Cindy has it all down, and we'll look at it tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to send an email out just so that we've covered a lot of ground, so that everyone will know what they're signed up to do. Okay?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm about zoomed out. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you lost your faces on there, fellas. But I don't know. You're not looking bad in here. I see my reflection in the old screen. So, okay, I need a motion to. What's that?
I
Motion-
move we adjourn.
Great, great.
I'll
second that.
I'll
Okay,
second
all
that.
in favor? Let's go home. Thank you,
Aye.
Cindy, very much.